Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and all between the binary. This is Get Informed with Wajeeh. Wajeeh Lion, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's share this live stream with you guys on my group chat real quick, or the channel chat, however you want to call it. Talk question with you. I was surprised to hear Malcolm say there is no genocide in Palestine. Do you agree? I disagree, but we don't have to agree on everything. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Oh, 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 Allah, Allah, Allah. Welcome, welcome. Eid Mubarak, my friend. It is pilgrimage holiday season for Muslims where they are celebrating one of the first prophets and the Abrahamic faith, where they celebrate the story of Ibrahim when he was ordered by God to sacrifice his only child. On the way to him going to sacrifice the son, the devil came to him a few times and he had this confrontation back and forth where he was throwing back stones at that devil, Satan. And when he came to sacrifice his son, the knife was always really dull to cut through the skin. And instead, God has gifted Abraham a sheep from heaven. And he said, "You can sacrifice that in my name instead." So since then, you know, since Islam was created, they had to do the pilgrimage in honor of Prophet Ibrahim. And they believe that each Muslim who is capable, health wise and financially, to do it at least once in their lifetime as an obligation. You have many Muslims, saving their lifetime finances so they can go and do this pilgrimage. And at the end of the pilgrimage, I think this is the largest single day of sheep massacre. People so vegetarians and vegans really hate this day because Muslims or animal right groups, they hate this day because they're like, oh, Muslims are killing a lot of animals on this day. So it's kind of interesting who you ask about this. Now, when a Muslim is sacrificing a sheep or a goat or cow or camel in the name of Allah for Hajj, they're obligated to do a thing where they donate one third, they gift a one third, and they keep a one third. And Zakah donation is not anyone can take zakah. So, like descendants of the Prophet, like myself, Prophet Muhammad told us that we're not supposed to be taking charity. We take gifts, but we don't take charity. And but rest of the Muslims who are not descendants of the Prophet bloodline, they can take charity. So the meaning of a gift and charity has, a solid difference. When you go to a friend and family and you gift them something, then you going to someone who needs that money and you donate something. So there was a companion of the Prophet that met him once, and he said, "I have this donation for you, Prophet." He said, "Is it the donation in the sake of God?" He said, "Yes." He said, "I cannot accept it." He said, he came back. He goes, "Oh, dear Prophet, I have a gift that I accept." So even for himself, he didn't take any charity according to Muslims. So growing up as a very religious, devout Muslim in a very conservative household, I was always scolded when we ever even went to the mosque and there was like bottles of water laying down or like in the front. I would get scolded anytime I touch any of them. They're like, "These are donations. You're a descendant of the Prophet. You don't get to have one. Did someone gift it to you?" So like it was a actual thing that was and like ingrained. Morning. How can we prepare for the Zoom? Any idea? We there isn't much to prepare. I will be working with Mama K to set up the link, and instead of you guys having to come in tomorrow to this live stream on Substack for Q&A, we would go to a Zoom link that everyone is invited to have essentially one-on-one to for you guys to have a chance to meet one another. Um, I think it would be a lot of people have been very uh, a lot of people have been very inspired about the ideas of mutual aid, and they want to help one each other, one another, and want to become a community. And I was asked to see if I would help facilitate that, and I said, why not? I would just like to bring into your attention once you be doing mutual aid. One thing that has come to our attention recently in grassroots organizing is that everything is starting to become financial for some reason. You don't need necessarily to give each other money to do mutual aid. Mutual aid can happen when you guys give each other services and goods. You don't have to be giving each other just, but many people do need money to pay bills. Many people do need money to pay rent. But the nice thing about mutual aid is there's a lot of other shit that you need that doesn't need to be used with finances, right? We can cook for each other. We can create a community for each other. We can create the community garden. You can create the tools that people need so they can start using them on their own. And uh you want to create essentially the environment the correct environment for people to start becoming independent on their own and start to get independent from the corporate greed. So a lot of people have been inspired by this and they want to do something about it. It's just something that came to my attention that's worth mentioning. Would you make the final decision for the peace agreement in Iran? there is no final person. There is no final person. And everyone has ability to pull strings in the Middle East. Israel, Hezbollah, Saudi Arabia, United States, China, Russia, anyone that has a stake in the issue will try to manipulate it. That's why the last decision is very hard to determine. I can tell you the last decision could be affected by Israel's tantrum or could be affected by Trump's memory issues. But there's a lot going on. And anyone that tell you the final decision is in one hand doesn't have or comprehend the full picture. That's your main issue. If there was a final decision on one person's hand, it would have been finalized by now. Why is Trump pushing the Abrahamic Accord so much? Well, he's got his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, that worked on it. Trump himself worked on the Abrahamic Accord with his son-in-law. Uh, and Trump doesn't have America first. He has Israel first, and then he has America first. What is the Abrahamic Accord? The Abrahamic Accord is named after the Abrahamic religions, essentially saying that the Muslim world is part of the Abrahamic faith and it should get into a peace treaty with Israel, recognize the state of Israel, and of essentially economic trade and everything politically, which is a problem. Will Trump do another show of force for his supporters before the MOU is finally signed? Honestly, I don't know who did the last show of force, if it was Trump or Pete Hegseth. And I don't know if Pete Hegseth now is acting without Trump's permission or anything else. Like when we say it's confusion forecast, we mean it. We're at a point where the war is so confusing. We don't know who's making the decisions. What do I know about starving American soldiers? I know that they probably get some of them rotten food. I know that some of them might have like frozen patties that get like grilled on a grill real quick, and that's about it. And maybe a chips. And that's what you're eating every day and all day. That gets a little boring. Um, Anytime you on a ship and you're in action, you're dependent on another ship to bring you these materials, and then do a chip to chip transfer, and that's a complicated and expensive maneuver in the middle of the sea. That's also dangerous. And it would be way easier for these ships to stop at a port and have clean up, crew, get the guys and girls out of the ship, and restock the ship, and do some maintenance. But the more that's happening, the longer people are going to be making mistakes, and accidents like the burning situation at the laundry will continue to happen. I don't know if you know this, but one of the aircraft carriers, if one of the toilets get clogged, I think it's at least multi-million dollars operation to clear that clog in a toilet. Like, it's not, our equipment aren't cheap, and fixing the isn't cheap. What's going on in the U.S. Qatari relationship? I think Qataris like are over the United States, but they also are trying to steer the ship away from a war. So their priority is set on ending the war, but U.S. Qatari relationship has been bruised. Would I say this is a total surrender by the U.S.? Semi-total surrender. You're surrendering one of your major security points and economic hubs in the region, which is the access to the Gulf state, and the Arab Gulf and the Persian Gulf. Each Gulf probable reaction is all going to someone says, can could you go over the points just supposedly agreed by Iran? I don't think Iran said they agreed on anything yet. And Iran came out and said that they have not agreed on any. They just said that they have received it and they're looking over it and would want to see actions by the US government supporting these claims that they would go over. Uh, what's the Gulf reaction? Gulf at this point only cares about ending the war. Then everything is going to be figured out because their economy and the country's infrastructure wasn't designed to go into war. It was designed for economic prosperity. It was designed for investments. It was designed for expansion. No one designed the Gulf states to go to war. And if Lebanon ceasefire is or is not included. So far, I have not seen anything that includes the ceasefire in Lebanon. You'll get Pakistan and you'll get Qatar saying that Lebanon has been included, and then you'll get Israel saying absolutely not. And you'll see another round of conflict just on Lebanon for a few more months if a deal has been reached with Iran. If U.S. forces leave the Gulf state, will military equipment be transferred to any of the Gulf states? So these Gulf states own some of these weapons, and they own some of these radars. and they have a system being run by the US. And some of these equipments are just US and will be transferred out with US personnel. So it just depends on exactly what we are talking about. It is essential, though, for the US to leave some stuff like specific radar systems that Iran already hit. So about $25 billion or $26 billion worth of damages on US bases in the Gulf states happened during this war. And some of the most crucial parts of those buildings is a multi-billion-dollar system that recognized these attacks early on before they happen and so on and so forth. And that would be a priority to build again in these Gulf states. So we have someone's asking, is Israel's action in southern Lebanon attempted genocide according to your knowledge? It seems it's directed at Muslims of southern Lebanon, regardless of their affiliation of Hezbollah. Um, so there is senseless targeting. We might be like a few hairs away from another, like from the definition of genocide, but we haven't hit exactly the definition of genocide. Although what is happening in southern Lebanon is certainly annexation. What's happening in southern Lebanon is certainly uh, crimes against humanity. What's happening in southern Lebanon is not no, is a crime. What's happening in Lebanon is a crime. I think the fact that the military was targeting anyone, regardless of faith, is a thing. We saw we saw Christian Lebanese people get targeted by the IDF as well. So what we're seeing is just savageness from the Israeli government against humanity, period. What that's genocide, but not genocide, is for the courts to decide. I can have my own opinion, you can have your own opinion. This needs to go to court. People that have been making these decisions need to face justice. And I can sit down and bring you all my opinions, but the reality of the matter is that this needs to end. We did say never again, and we keep repeating the mistake. And every time we do an investigation, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Palestine and Israel, about these crimes, we find some horrendous acts against humanity. Few times we see people getting held accountable. Netanyahu has already been, you know, uh, Netanyahu has already been flagged as someone committing these crimes against humanity. And he doesn't go to a country that doesn't give him a written promise that they will not hand him to Interpol. I'm sorry. little tired today. Anytime he goes to a country, he gets an agreement that that country will not hand him over to Interpol. Interpol will take him to International Criminal Court. So he's someone that's committed the crimes. He's someone that has said that uh, that has shown his intent in public, and the people that he hired around him to be in his board of directors, not board of directors. Oh my God, the secretary cabinets, they're all extremists. Not a single person from minority community, not a single person that has any moderation. And Israelis who are protesting Netanyahu are getting blacklisted and beaten the fuck up. What do you think Israel? What do you think Israel? What do you think Israel think of this? I don't think Israel gives a shit what we think, but I think Israel is very pissed off about any memorandum of understanding. They want to make sure that they can degrade the Iranian government and degrade all of Lebanon, and then they are comfortable. Until they can annex 50% of Lebanon, they're not comfortable. What is the Lebanese political relationship with Iran? And do you think, what do they communicate with? So the Lebanese government is divided into three sections. Like I said, one of those sections is a Shiite majority section that is affiliated with the Iranian government. So they have direct communication, but the real answer to that is the Lebanese government itself is divided into three groups, and those groups are religious groups: the Christians, the Sunnis, and the Shiite, and that has created an environment of a failed state almost. Yes, of course, Iran has visited Lebanon. And also Iranian ambassador was asked to leave Lebanon, and his reaction to that was like, I ain't leaving because Hezbollah, the Shi'i political party, asked me to stay. So they, they don't have the power of removing somehow the ambassador. What is happening to pipeline that would provide an alternative to the Strait of Hormuz? They're being built. They take time. Robust pipelines with a lot of pressure that can handle a lot of pressure take years to build. Did you hear Financial Times reported no funds in the bond board of peace account? MashaAllah. So all the billions that was donated to the board of peace for membership are gone. And they transferred the money to non-transparent JP Morgan account. I'm not surprised. Not surprised. Another way for the Gulf states to bribe Trump. Or another way for Trump to get bribed. The reason will look a year from now more fractured than it was ever before. The conflict that was created by Trump has complicated the U.S. Middle Eastern relations for decades to come and created animosity toward the United States. Why haven't countries of the eight flotilla citizens not done anything as a group to get justice for them? I didn't expect them to do anything, honestly, because if they were going to do something, they would have escorted those flotillas with their own security ships, their own military ships to defend them, to make sure that if any attack happens, it's an actual attack on these military ships. But the fact that they were not securely escorted by their national government's like navy ships tells me everything I need to know that they basically gave the green light for Israel to head those flotillas, and they kind of probably knew ahead of time that these flotillas will be hit and will be targeted, and decided to do nothing about it. And just like, oh, this might be a good distraction from whatever economic issues we have. They were grabbed in international water and beaten and sexually assaulted and even injected with unknown substances. And in addition to that, when some of them returned back to Spain and they were welcomed by the protesters and their supporters in Spain, the police was trying to push them back and they pushed back against the police, so the police started beating them. Means that the government wasn't even on their side. If the government was there to support them, the police was there to protect them, not beat them. I'm a little confused about the Epstein files and Jamie Damien and JP Morgan. If you could elaborate, or maybe you could send me a message in private and I'll look into it more. Any questions you guys have? Ooh. Oh, it's been an hour almost, hasn't it? Wow. Time flies real quick here. You go to my profile and you click on the message icon on the top and you can send me a message. Just don't send me any links. I will not open your message if you send me a link. Links can have viruses. Your phone can even be hacked without you even knowing it. I take my security very seriously. I work with people that have a lot of security clearances and I protect them by protecting myself. So if you are going to send a link, don't send it to me or I'm not going to open your message. Just as simple as that. While you're here, you want to become a paid subscriber? Help me go a long way. Pays the bill. Helps me do this full time so you don't have to do it full time. Uh, been giving people free premium memberships. If you send me your email, I probably will go take a look at it today and add you to the list and try to have an easy, relaxed day. The weather is starting to get nice here, and It's a good time to start taking walks. Oh, BBC, Sebastian Usher. What do you want? Saudi Arabia spending spree reached the end of the line. Oh, my friend from the BBC just sent me an article. We'll see what maybe he quoted me or he wants to comment on it. We'll see. I'll get back to you guys. About that. How's my shoulder? My shoulder is okay. A little sore. I need to go take a taking it yet. The Saudis are reaching their spending limit. Everyone is reaching their spending limits. Why do you think they're putting so much pressure on Trump? Are sausage links okay? Yeah, sausage links are okay. Yeah, Prime Minister of you know Canada can blast and shame Israel all they want, but that's all they will do. And many other countries have called the ambassador, the Israeli ambassador, over to lecture them why did they beat them over. But that's all they will do. Well, what is that going to do to Israel? This is going to do nothing. It's just really good headline for the government to be like, oh, we did something about it. We called the Israeli ambassador over. We told him, shame on you. That's what that means. Anyways, it's kind of getting to the hour mark, and I don't see any other question or more questions. We hear a lot about the internal protests in Israel. Are there still significant internal protests? There's some protests, nothing too major. They're beat with a lot of violence. They're met with a lot of violence. They're treated as spies, and you can ask your Israeli American citizens here in the U.S. who have been protesting Israel and ask them if they were blacklisted or they have been having a travel ban on them. Because my friends who are Israeli and Americans and protested Netanyahu, for some reason, are now travel banned and they have never done anything stupid. Yes, we are still using Buy Me a Coffee for small donations to the people who have been sending me some money there. I appreciate you. That helps a lot. How much the United States provide Israel with financial support? Billions of dollars each year. I did a calculation once. I need to go do it again. Like getting blacklisted. Yes. What do you mean by travel ban? Like getting blacklisted from getting on a plane or getting a passport. So that's a travel ban. Of course. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. Over every day, we'll be doing this as much as we can. I try to make it short so I can do it more often, and I feel like so I could have less of a burnout and answer as much questions as possible. I did share a list of articles that I have written in the previous 2 months. I marked them as essential reading for you guys, and we've gone over most of them, if not all of them. We might go over them again. It's just if you're feeling a little confused and you want a little background on the history and you want to have the the base information that you need, that's what you need to read. Like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum. Goodbye.